Hi, Madison Kisgia for my topics of the day, and I bet you can guess what the topic of the day is. Sea monkeys, that's right. Well, what are sea monkeys? And what the picture shows is a gross exaggeration of what they really are. I'm sure all of you know that they are brine shrimp. Brine shrimp are really interesting little creatures. They are crustaceans, which means that they're related to, common shrimp that we eat, and crabs and lobsters, crawfish, basically all of those critters in the family. The only thing is they're much, 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 much smaller. Brine shrimp, because of the name brine, means that they live in extremely salty water, which is great if you're small and aquatic, because a lot of fish and other wildlife are very intolerant of those conditions. And salty water is a great environment to live in if you don't like being eaten. And so that's pretty brilliant. And they do another really nifty trick. They have the ability to do something called cryptobiosis. Cryptobiosis is just a fancy scientific term of saying that when conditions are not right, let's say the lake they live in suddenly dries up, or the salinity level goes far too high or too low, and conditions are just not right for these little guys, their eggs can turn into what's called cysts. They have develop this coating around these eggs, and these eggs can survive desiccation and other extremes for indefinite periods of time. And then when conditions return back to favorable, then these eggs will magically spring to life. In fact, that's what's in the second packet of your Sea Monkeys Ocean Zoo kit, is basically your little egg cysts. There's also some salt and other nutrients in there, but your egg cysts that will enable them to spring back to life once you prepare the water. Now, this is your basic of basic kits, your Ocean Zoo. It has pretty much everything you need. You do not necessarily need to purchase anything addition. However, I like to purchase this as a plan B. This has everything you need minus the, habitat container. You have to supply the container. You can either use a sea monkey container, or you could, be creative and make a jar or use a jar of some sort. Just make sure that you have holes on the top for ventilation, because they do need oxygen to breathe. But anyway, that's what this is. And the reason I purchased, a second, backup kit for my container was because when I purchased this one, when I opened it, I noticed that the packets, when I inspected the packets, something was not quite right with the packets. I don't know if you can see any of them swimming around. They're only a couple of days old, but actually there was just one swimming in the little magnifying little lens there. These are kind of neat. They have their own little magnifying lens, but there they are. There's about 4 or 5 of them in there. I lost count. But anyway, the packets seemed kind of cracked, and the contents in there didn't shake. Like they were all crusted and clumped together inside. And of course, when I went ahead and set this habitat up initially, according to the directions, and I followed the directions to the letter. I used to have sea monkeys as a kid, so I not only do I remember what to do, but I read the directions anyway as a refresher. And I only had one little guy hatch, and that's it. And after about like a week and a half of waiting, and nothing happened, I went ahead and I transferred that little guy into a new tank. I set up, a new tank, and I transferred him into here. And I don't think the original one is still in here. I think that, because I think I noticed that she or he was having some problems and just kind of convulsed and sank to the bottom. So maybe the stress of being transferred was a bit too much for that one. But c'est la vie, you know. So anyway, having a second kit handy, you know, helps you, you know, say, listen, you know, that was probably a dud. Let me just start from scratch. And of course, I started from scratch, and I had completely much better results. So when you open your kit, it's always a good idea to inspect the 3 packets. The first packet is your purifier. That's number 1. And it pretty much does as it says. It gets, you know, rid of anything, any microorganisms, any contaminants, any chemicals in the water that could damage your sea monkeys. And you mix it in really good. And it recommends that you use bottled water or distilled water. And depending on where you live, tap water may be unsuitable. I happen to live in a region where it's very chlorinated, and purifier will not get rid of the chlorine. So you don't want to use, you want to avoid using tap water. Bottled water, distilled water are probably your 2 best bets. And this gives you a really detailed instructions. It has pictures, which are nice for those of us who are more visual. And then it has some additional written directions. So anyway, you want to add the purifier and bottled water. And this is, you know, the ideal temperature that you want to use it at like maybe, I don't know if you can see that, but it says something like a 76. And if you use a metrics, 26 degrees Celsius, of course you want to mix it in really good. Wait 24 hours because it takes about that long for, you know, the purifier to cure. And once that 24 hours is up, you can add your instant eggs. Now, I'm not sure, I have mixed issues with whether or not you keep it, if this means keep it in direct sunlight or in shade, because, you know, these little guys feed on algae, so some sunlight is actually good. But I guess you don't want like direct sunlight. You don't want to cook them. You don't want them to get the water to get too hot. So if it's in the summertime and you have a window that gets, you know, a lot of sun, then, you know, you may want to, you know, keep it kind of far away from the window or a little bit further away from the window. And in the wintertime, you know, you want to keep it where it'll be warm but not too warm. And maybe, I don't know how insulated your windows are in the wintertime, but if this were near my window time, during the winter time, these poor little guys would freeze to death. Now, they can actually start hatching right away. In fact, that's what happened with a couple of these. I started seeing little tiny particles fluttering. See, there's some more moving around, zipping about. And I know that they were not just schmutz floating around because they were fluttering. There was intentional movement against the current, and they were actually, you know, making some kind of concerted effort to move about. I don't know if you see the others, but there's some moving. Sorry this is so blurry, but I don't have much resolution on here. Now, these are about maybe 3 or 4 days old. I think, let's see, Sunday I added the eggs. So Monday, and today is Tuesday. So these are almost 3 days old because I think I added the eggs early on Sunday. Yeah, okay, so these are just about 3 days old. Now, these are your eggs, which is packet number 2. Now, packet number 2 doesn't just have eggs. There's some salts and some borax and other things to, you know, other nutrients. And there's this bluish substance, which I've been told is a dye. But I've also been told that bluish substance is spirulina. Spirulina is a natural form of blue-green algae that these critters enjoy eating, which is which is good because they're going to need some food. Although in the beginning they live off of their yolk sac, so don't worry about giving them any food right away or whether or not there's enough food. They have their own yolk sac that they're living off of. And then after about 5 days, which is what this means, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you add a little tiny spoonful, because the spoon has a large end and a small end, of 3, which is growth food. This is right here. And you mix it in. And this just tells you that this water line right here is the maximum fill line. Sorry, I'm pointing to the wrong thing here. Mine's a little bit over the water line because I transferred some water from the previous tank that I had or the previous setup. And I added the water to this tank, and I added the purifier. So the concentration, it's all about the concentration being the same. So that's why it's a little over full, because this was, what I had from the old tank right here, from here to here. So what happens is water is going to naturally evaporate. And as it evaporates, the concentration of salt is going to increase and increase and increase. So with that being said, your sea monkeys need an ideal concentration of salinity. So just by adding more bottled water to reach it back to the filling line will return that salinity to the optimal concentration. So that just tells you, as it evaporates, just be sure to give them some more water. Don't wait till it gets too low before you do that, because obviously you'll be in some trouble. So your ocean zoo is going to have, of course, the habitat or tank or whatever you want to call it. It's a little home. Some instructions. It comes with your 1, 2, and 3 pack. Your spoon. This has a magnifier, but this does not come with a magnifier. So each kit is different. Some kits have, plasma and, aqua leashes, which are just basically, pipettes that enable you to aerate the water. And that's another thing too, is make sure that there's plenty of oxygen in water. It recommends that you aerate the water twice a day. You can do that by either mixing it with a spoon. You can buy like a cheap turkey baster, at the dollar store and just try not to suck up any water so you don't suck up any of your critters. That just the whole idea is you're blowing air into the water, making little bubbles. You can blow it into a straw, just don't drink the water. Or a baby medicine dropper. I have an old baby medicine dropper that I don't use on my daughter anymore, that I use strictly for my sea monkeys. So if you're going to use one that belonged to your kids, make sure that you don't reuse it on your kids. Once you give it to the sea monkeys, that's it for that thing. And I bought a second set because my plans for this are, I love sea monkeys, and I think they're a great teaching tool to teach kids about a little bit about science and nature. Kids love these things. I'm going to bring this one to her school and have them do like a little science project with it, and then just a little extra one just in case, the original doesn't work out. But anyway, that's sea monkeys in a nutshell. And I am just so super enjoying my little critters here. Like I said, I'm going back to my childhood days. And, oh my gosh, there's a lot more of them than I thought. I can see some more. So anyway, enjoy, have a great day, and thanks for watching.